So, good evening, guys. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm really excited. I'm really grateful to Rabbi Michael and Rabbi Dov for inviting me. And we're going to start, first of all, Chazak, Chazak, V'nit Chazek. We're going to be strengthened by this. We're going to do this B'Shem Kol Yisrael. I'd like to dedicate this shiur and everything that we're going to learn from it to the protection of our precious IDF soldiers and the safe and immediate return of all the innocent hostages. And if you'll permit me, I'm just going to read. There's 21 children. I'll just read their names because they deserve at least that respect. Amongst the kids are Eitan ben Batsheva, Ariel ben Shiri, Kafir ben Shiri, Abigail bat Smadar, Ella bat Maayan, Daphna bat Maayan, Sahar bat Hadas, Erez ben Hadas, Ofri bat Hagar, Nevei ben Adi, Yahal Gani bat Adi, Noam bat Sharon, Aviv bat Doron, Raz bat Doron, Emma bat Sharon, Julie bat Sharon, Amelia bat Daniel, Ohad ben Keren, Yuval ben Hagar, Uriah ben Hagar, Amit ben Tal, Gal ben Chen, Lak ben bat Chen, and Tal ben Chen. I see that actually there were 24 names, and it's he's a child. That's a hostage.
No, he's a soldier, but he's now in Gaza.
Okay, so yes. So, and of course I mentioned at the very beginning for the protection of all the soldiers. I want to start by asking you a small question. Did you hear about the organization? It's called Just One Thing. Okay, so I hope that all of you went on and got yourself a personal soldier to pray for. And everything you do, if you wake up in the morning, if you do Netilat Yadayim, if you say Modeh Ani, whatever you do, just dedicate it to the protection of the soldier. And my soldier's name is Shanan ben Tanya, and when I read Tehillim, I ask for his protection. Every morning when I pray and I do my Amidah, I ask for him to be protected. And of course, then I include all the other soldiers because they're all so precious. I want to mention that we have to know that all the soldiers are considered complete tzaddikim. Why? Because they're doing the greatest mitzvah of protecting the Jewish people. And they're putting their lives in danger. Now, I didn't think I would have to do this because when I spoke to Rabbi Dov, when he asked me, this didn't happen yet. But as of yesterday, and I think it's earlier this morning, they gave us a list of, unfortunately, soldiers that perished. They were all from one unit, and I couldn't believe it when I saw the ages, 19, 20, 21, 20, 21, 20, and 24. That's a heartache. I bet that's, like some of you are even that age. So it's very, very, very sad. And we know that every person is an entire universe. That's what we believe. That's Jewish thought, Jewish philosophy. So, of course, we knew going in that there was going to be casualties, and the monsters who did what they did on October 7th, they took hostages because if they didn't have the hostages, we would throw bombs on them and it would be over. We would get to the beginning of the tunnel and throw bombs in the tunnel and missiles in the tunnel, and it would be finished. But we can't do that because life is so precious to us, contrary to how they think. Okay, we need to know, we have to have some clarity. What is going on? We also know that as Jewish people, we're not new to this. We've seen this before. We've seen pogroms. We've seen oppression. We've seen killing. This is not the first time that the nations are trying to kill the Jewish people. However, after the Holocaust, which was terrible, we said never again. And the atrocities of October 7th were as great, and in some instances, worse than what was done during the Holocaust. I'm not going to tell you that there's an answer to why. We're not supposed to ask the question of why did this happen? Because we don't know God's ways. And anyone who's going to tell you, oh, it happened because of this, because of that, they're cruel. According to Rabbi Manis Friedman, that is cruel. Because to give an answer, it happened because of that, justifies that such a sin could have such a repercussion. That's unacceptable. We don't believe in that. No one deserves to die in that way. Innocent civilians in their homes, sleeping in their beds, children in their cribs. No one deserves to die that way. There's no crime that could justify such atrocities. So we're starting with the premise that we don't know why this happened. But we could look at what's happening after. We see the Jewish people are so united. It's like we were shook up. You want to fight with your brothers and sisters who are Jewish? They're not your enemy. Your enemy is these monsters. Your enemy are the people that hate Jews. Our enemy are the people who have no morality and no values. That's our real enemy. Now, there was this post that was going around. I'm sure you saw. This woman was saying, "Thank you, Hamas." At first, I saw the beginning of that, and I said, "What is this woman crazy?" I could tell she was observant because she was well covered and all that. And I'm saying, "What is she crazy? How could she say this?" And then she continues to say, "Thank you for reminding us who we are. Thank you for reminding us that you didn't ask the victim, are you religious? Do you keep Shabbat? Do you eat kosher? Do you eat shrimp?" They didn't ask anybody those questions. They killed indiscriminately only because they were Jewish. That's tremendous hatred for a people. We are demonstrating now tremendous love for our people, regardless of where you live, where you came from, what color is your skin. Because in Israel now, we have a little bit of a melting pot. We have Jews from all over the world. It's no longer just Eastern European Jews. There's Jews of every color, and they live in Israel. And we have to love them and accept them for what they are and who they are, just because they're Jewish. We need to look and see, do we really have a right to this land? Because that's what's going around, right? That's what's flying. What's flying is, this land doesn't belong to you, we were there before you. I hope you all know the history. It's not true. We've been there. We were there first. And not just that. In the Bible, in the Torah, and the three major religions believe in the Old Testament, it says, last week's Parsha, in Lech Lecha, we saw that God made an eternal covenant with Avraham Avinu, and he gave him the land of Israel. And he even delineated from where to where, from the north to the south, from the east to the west, and it's much more land than what Israel holds right now. And you know what? I saw another interesting post. There's this big pasture. His name, one of his names is Hugh, and I forgot. I should just look at my post for a minute. And he talks to all his Christian followers, and he says, someone asked me, what do you think of the political situation now with the Jews? And I answered them, the Jews are not a political situation. They're a biblical fact. And in the Bible, it says that this land belongs to them. So there's no issue. We need to hear it from Goyim. We need to hear it from other people because we don't believe it. You know, I heard, you know why we don't believe it anymore? Because we've been so oppressed for so many years, for over 2,000 years. Everyone's always against us. We've lost our confidence. We don't believe in ourselves. Now, I don't want to say political views. So please don't twist what I'm saying. But if God, we've just established, gave the land to Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov, to their descendants, and I'm going to tell you why it's to them and not Ishmael, who was also the son of Abraham. If God gave the land, do we have the right to give some of the land away? Guess what? We don't. And we're paying a big price right now. You know why? Because Jewish people are so compassionate. Because Jewish people don't want to kill anybody. They don't want to hurt anybody. That's not the Jewish way. When the Jews left Egypt and they got the Torah on Har Sinai, and then they spent the 40 years in the desert, and we're not going to go into the why. But when Joshua was ready to take the people into Israel, God said to him, you're going to fight. There's 10 other nations in the land that I, God, give you. You're going to fight them. Don't be afraid. I'm with you. It's your land. Out of the 10, I believe we fought off the 7, because it was the 7 nations who were occupying the exact area that belonged to the tribes and to the people. And the other 3 had their section on the sides. We didn't have to fight them. But we were given permission. And God told Joshua, you do everything you have to do to conquer the land. It's not the first time. It's not the first time we're given permission. We saw when Shaul was the king, I think it's Shaul or Shmuel. Rabbi, was it Shmuel or Shaul? And he didn't kill the king of Amalek? Shaul. Okay, thank you. Shaul thought, it's not so bad. He had the wife of the king. He says, no. We don't have to kill everybody. We also don't have to kill all their livestock. But that's not what God told him. God told him to finish the job. And because he didn't listen, and he didn't finish the job, she became impregnated by her husband. And from him we got Haman. And we suffered miserably during that Persian period in our history. And almost all the Jews were going to be destroyed in 127 provinces that Persia ruled. So now we're in a predicament. We gave part of our land because the world forced us to give our land. And we have the enemy living in our backyards. And they multiply. And they're millions. And they hate us. And they don't want peace. We know that because we've tried so many times to make peace with them. They don't want peace. They want to destroy the Jewish people. They don't even really care about the land. Because the land that we gave them, they didn't build up. We gave them land. The Jews vacated beautiful land with property and crops. We cultivated the land in such a beautiful way. And they destroyed everything. Because that's who they are. God told Abraham that being the chosen people is a huge and difficult responsibility. And in order for the Jewish people to inherit this land and dwell there in security until the end of time, and from there, it's our job to lead the entire world to perfection, to unity, to selflessness, to believe in one God, to serve Him. They would need to be on a very high moral and spiritual level. Now, there needed to be a system put in place. in order to bring out the best in the Jewish people and to bring them to such a high level. But this required that they would have to go through 4 stages where they would be subjugated, controlled by non-Jewish empires who will make their lives miserable. What analogy can I use to express why would that even come to be? How do you get wine? Who could tell me how you make wine?
Grapes.
With grapes. So what do you do to the grapes? You squeeze them badly. Very much. How do you get olive oil? Where do we get olive oil from?
Olives.
From olives. What do we do with the olives to get olive oil? Press them hard. But you get something incredible. What do you do when you have raw minerals in order to get beautiful gold or silver? What do you have to do? Heat it up. Burn it. Sift the bad from the good. That's what you have to do. Is it fair? I don't know. Do we understand God's ways? Absolutely not. But we do know because we have read it in our scriptures. We've read it through our prophets. We see it in the Torah. We understand that this had to happen. You know, I heard from one of my teachers, and I've heard it many times since then. One of my teachers, Mora Esther Wien, said that we have to understand that we are a nation that is moral and just, and we believe in freedom. And you know why? You know why? Not just because we got the Torah, of course, because we follow the laws of the Torah, but why is it so ingrained in our Jewish DNA? And I'll tell you why. And when I heard this, it was empowering, because you get to understand who we are. We spent over 250 years in Egypt. 210 of those years we were subjugated. We were tortured. You think on October 7th they killed babies? Do you know what Pharaoh did every day? Thousands every day. This is not new to us. We've seen this ugly. But we were slaves in Egypt. And when we came out to become a free nation, we became free from the subjugation of a manly king. And we are the people who stand up for freedom because we lived it. If you're Jewish, it's in your DNA. That's why we believe in freedom. That's why Jewish people, whether they keep Torah or Mitzvot, they're always rooting for the underdog, right? They're always there. You can't abuse these people. You can't have these people as slaves. You have to pay people fair wages. We know what that's like. We uphold those values because we lived it. And when we were taken out of Egypt and told you're going to be free, you're going to be free from the enslavement of man. But what are you free to do? You free to be an atheist? That's not freedom. That's hell on earth. You're free to serve the ultimate king and creator of the universe. That's freedom. That's freedom. Now, this is the tricky part. We're taken out of slavery to be a people. We stand at Har Sinai and we get a divine download to the greatest prophet that ever existed. That's what it is. And by the way, the whole Torah was written then. So everything that happened before Har Sinai that we read in the Torah, we started in Bereshit, is all God given to Moses, and Moses wrote it down. We have to understand that. That's very important. Because people are going to say to you, hello, nobody was around. How did they write that down? We're not claiming anyone wrote it down before then. That's when it was written down. We need to know the details because we have to be secure in who we are. We have to understand our mission. Now, there's two ways you could look at it. You could look at it as we were the chosen people, God chose us. Or you could look at it as we chose to be the chosen people. We chose to be in a covenant, in an agreement with God, and uphold His laws. And guess what? This is where the problem begins. This is why we're in a mess today. You know why? Because we forgot what's our mission. When God promised the land to Abraham, it was for Jewish people that keep Torah and Mitzvot. I'm not being political. I'm only telling you what the Torah says, okay? You could extrapolate whatever you want after that. I'm just giving you the facts. What does that mean? I heard Rabbi Isser Weisberg talk. He has a wonderful YouTube channel. He's very deep. He goes into the Zohar and he pulls out sources, and the man is brilliant. And I loved his understanding of this situation. And look at what he brings forward. He says, at the moment when God told Abraham that He was going to give him the land, but there was going to be 4 major periods in the history where the Jewish people are going to suffer oppression. But don't worry, at the end, it's all going to be resolved. And it's each time to make you stronger and better and more moral and at a higher spiritual level. So Abraham is asked to bring a cow, a goat, a ram, and 2 birds. And it's in the Torah. And he says he's supposed to bring it like as an offering to God at that time to seal the pact. And he cuts the cow in half, he cuts the goat in half, he cuts the ram in half, but he doesn't cut the birds. And Rabbi Weisberg is telling us that the cow, the goat, and the ram represent the empires of Babylon, Persia, and Greece. As for the 2 birds, one represents the Roman, Christian, Western empires, and the other one is the Arab, Islamic empires. Why are they both birds and they're not different like the other animals? Is because they have a similar root. They were both doves. Because they emerge from the same source, they come from Judaism. They're based on our Torah. It's just twisted, but it's based on our Torah. That's why they believe in the Bible. Now, there's a problem, and we're going to see it in this week's Parsha. Abraham loved Ishmael. He didn't really want to send him away. But God said to him, listen to your wife, listen to Sarah. Do whatever she says. But there's one pasuk in the Torah. Abraham says to God, but give Ishmael a chance. Maybe he'll do tshuva. And because he said that, he gave power to the angel over Ishmael. You know that every nation has an angel that protects them and that is their, so to say, prosecutor, right? Or defense lawyer. Okay? And maybe you don't know this, so I'm telling you. And so, Ishmael's angel tells to God, look at the Jewish people. They're sinning. They're in your land. They're sinning. They don't deserve the land. Let's take it away. Give it to Ishmael. Why? Because only the Jews and Ishmael do Brit Milah. Because that was one of the conditions. The only people who could inherit that land are the people who do a Brit Milah, ideally on the 8th day, and who keep the Torah and the Mitzvot. That's how the land will let you live in security with prosperity and give you everything and all the shefa that God wants to give us. So Ishmael, he does do a Brit Milah. He did it at 13 though. Some of them do it a little earlier now. They don't do it at 8 days. And there's one other thing you need to know. They don't do it the way we do it. You know, right? They only do one kind of a cut. They don't do what we do. So it's not a perfect Brit Milah. But they were given the right to give us a hard time with the land. So now we have to ask ourselves, how can we protect ourselves and come back to meriting to get the land completely and to live in security? I don't know about you, but are you looking at the news lately? Where is a Jew safe?
Nowhere.
Nowhere except in Israel, in a miklat. That's really the only place.
It's hard to leave.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm recording it. I'll send it to you, okay?
Sorry.
All the best. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. We're not safe anywhere. We can't run away. Yes, you have a question. Go ahead.
Even the Jews that went in the flood, they got burned too.
Yes. They first of all, I think they had windows in their miklats, right? So that means to say that I'm going to say another thing because I don't want to scare you, but I want to empower you, okay? I want to empower you. I want you to walk away from here and say, there's something I can do. That's the bottom line. But I want to put it in context for you so that you understand that this is really important and that you matter. Because every Jew is so important. Hi, Rabbi, how are you?
How are you?
Good, thank God, thank you. Okay, so we need to ask ourselves, what do we need to do to be able to manage to survive this final oppression, if you will? Because it's the final time. We've been through the Roman Christian suppression already. We've lost our 2 Beit HaMikdash. We've been through that hell. Now the last battle is the battle with Ishmael. This is the last of the battles. Okay? Now, we're not going to go into all the prophets because it's scary. But I want to give you something that's going to encourage you. Okay? So, Rabbi Rieri last week gave a beautiful Jonathan Rieri. Have you ever heard of him? He used to be... Yes, he's been here before. What did you say? He was...
We brought him.
Yeah, we brought him. I thought you said he was born. No. He was in England. His family were in the industry of actors. They were actors. They were comedians. He's an incredible personality. And he became a Baal Tshuva. And he's brilliant. And he said like this. Yeshuat Hashem keheref ein. That means the final redemption and the saving part that Hashem could do like a blink of an eye. That's how fast. That's how strong. That's how capable it could be. And he wants us to understand that it's like a thought. You know how you could switch one thought to the next just by like a blink? It's that fast. You can't hold 2 thoughts. So if you have a bad thought in your mind, just change your thought and think of a good thought. You can change that. And he says that our thoughts are so powerful that what we're thinking now affects the situation in the world. And he gave something so powerful. He said, when Bnei Israel were escaping Mitzrayim, and they saw the Egyptians come running after them, and in front of them there was the ocean, the sea. And they're thinking, oh no, now we're doomed. Like, what are we going to do? The enemy's behind and there's nowhere to go in front. And at that moment, they realized that the only Savior that they have is God. And they all looked up and they prayed. And Rabbi Rieti says, if you look at the words of the Torah, it says that Paro hikriv et haYehudim, like brought them closer. He should have said, the Torah should have said, and Pharaoh got closer to the Jews in order to catch up to them. That's what it should have said. But it didn't say that. And Rashi says, what did they mean? They meant that when the enemy is right behind you and in front of you there's no escape, that's when you become karov. That's when you can do tshuva. Why did Rabbi Rieti bring this up? Because what Hamas did to us October 7th made a lot of people do tshuva. You know, the outpour of chesed was so beautiful. People were making packages and giving so many gifts to the soldiers and food and anything they needed and sweaters because it's getting cold now and just everything under the sun. But the soldiers asked for tzitzit. They asked for tefillin. They know. Do you see the posts before they go out on a mission, before they go to attack? They stand together, they pray, they hold each other, and those that are not wearing kippah, one person puts a hand on the other guy's head. It's so moving. It's so incredible. That's what we are. But unfortunately, we need to be put like against the wall with nowhere to go and the enemy in front of us or behind us, wherever you want to put it. But there's no escape. And when there's no escape, then we realize that the only thing we have, the only one we can trust is God. And I want to tell you that we don't know why, right? I started by telling you we don't know why such a thing happened because there's no answer to that. There's no logic. There's no justification. There's no one thing that allowed that to happen. But we do know that something good has come from it. And we have to hang on to that. We have to hang on to this unity, to this overflow of love and acceptance of each other no matter what. You saw the beautiful amount of food that the religious people come to give the soldiers. You saw how religious people decided that they're going to enlist in the army as well. There's just so much goodness and so much love and caring. And that's beautiful and that's encouraging. And that might help us. But more than anything, what we need to do right now is get closer to God. That's what we need to do. That's the call of the hour. That's the call of the hour. And more than that, we're told that we have to do mitzvot with love and simcha, not by force. We have to come to do things to get closer to God in a good way. So we saw that we're destined to be persecuted by in four different times, 4 different empires, if you will. But we also have prophets who said to us that we will see kibbutz galuyot, Jews coming from all over back to Israel. And we will see tchiyat hametim, the resurrection of the dead. And we will see Moshe Rabbeinu again as a leader. And we know for a fact that Amalek will be destroyed. And we will see the building of the third Beit HaMikdash. So now, the question we have to ask ourselves is, can we bring it sooner? Or is there a time frame and we don't have a choice? Can we change the course of this timeline? And I just want to say a little bit, if you'll permit me, because I want you to have this piece in your mind as well. What is the timeline? Hey, what is that timeline? I want to know. So I heard Rabbi Kassim, another incredible genius mind, says that the Zohar tells us that the end of time is the year 6000. Let's understand this, okay? There's 7 days of creation. The seventh day is the Sabbath. Sabbath is a day of rest. Sabbath is considered Olam Shekulo Shalom. It's peace. And it's like Gan Eden. That's Shabbat. Shabbat is the most beautiful of everything. And it's a taste of Olam Haba. It's a taste of eternal peace and beauty and everything you could imagine at the end of times. How does that work? First day is the first 1,000 years. Second day is the second 1,000 years. That's 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. 7,000 is Shabbat. When do we get prepared for Shabbat? On Friday. Friday is 6,000. Okay. But now, the Zohar also tells us, and I want to let you know, I'm going to pretend you know nothing. I'm going to give you why do we care what the Zohar says. Like, what is this book? Okay? So, this book was written by Shimon Bar Yochai when he was in a cave, him and his son, and it was divinely given to him. Okay? Like the download of the Torah on Har Sinai with Moshe Rabbeinu. And remind me later to explain how do we get things in our brain, okay? I'm leaving it up to you. Okay. And they wrote the Zohar, okay? So, Shimon Bar Yochai, and this is what he says. 210 years before the 6,000 timeline, there will be Tchiyat HaMetim, the resurrection of the dead. When is that? If we make the calculation, that's 2,240. But the Zohar also tells us that 210 years before that, Mashiach ben David will arrive. What's that date in Gregorian calendar? 2030. What year are we in? What year are we today? 2023. Do the math. 2030 minus 2023. What does that tell us? We're super close. We're super close. Okay? Now that could be scary or exciting, or both. And Rabbi Kassim says something super profound and attainable. He says that the single greatest mitzvah that we can do, because I asked myself, so what's the mitzvah that we have to take on? What do we have to do? So a lot of people are wearing tzitzit now, right? We saw that. And some people that never wore tefillin are starting to put tefillin. Okay, but that's for the boys. What are the girls doing? Okay, so a lot of people all around the world are reading Tehillim. And everything I'm saying is good and important. And if you can do it, do it. A lot of people are starting to keep Shabbat, right? There's this whole campaign. This weekend, please keep Shabbat because it's the Shabbat Project weekend and everyone all over the world is keeping Shabbat. Now, if we keep Shabbat together, we can make it happen sooner. It could come sooner. Sooner and with less death and less tsa'ar and less problems and less yisurim. And that's great. That's what we want to do. Okay? But Shabbat is hard. And I just want to put it out there that I'd like to invite whoever doesn't have where to go for Shabbat, you're invited to my house this Shabbat. Okay? So we'll talk about it later. I really would like to have you over. Okay. So if all those mitzvot are good, but there's one that's greater than all of them, what is it? Who could think of it? Tell me, I want to hear what's in your minds. What would be an incredible mitzvah that could be a game changer? Tell me. What do you think? You must know. What do you think? What could be a game changer for a mitzvah? Okay, so which one? So give me some. Keep Shabbat. Okay, that one's a big one. I mentioned that. But I'm saying it's even bigger. It's hard, I know. When I heard him say this, I didn't understand. I rewound a lot just to hear it again. Which one?
Give me a hint.
Oh, no. I don't want to give you a hint. But that one is a very good one. That one could bring it sooner. Okay, that one could bring it sooner. But what's the trigger? What's the trigger? What could change the balance? What do you think? Come on, don't be shy. I want to hear what's in your mind because they could be good mitzvot. We could take them on. What do you think? Come on. You girls are smart. What is so destructive? Okay, I'm going to give you a hint. But I don't think you're going to get it. But I'm still going to give you a hint. What?
Social media, like the phone, and everything.
Okay, maybe. We're not far, but it's not about using electronics.
No,
Like-
like it's destructive. You know?
Okay. Let me see if we can tie that in. Yes.
Maybe like more like
Okay, so that's very related to this mitzvah. And which one? Less sinat chinam. What causes sinat chinam? Or how does one demonstrate sinat chinam? That's going to give you the answer.
Judgment.
Yeah, how? In your mind?
Okay. Like you think I should make a do?
Okay, yes, tell me. Yes, that's it, Lashon Hara. Way to go. Okay?
It's the worst
So
habit
now-
in the world. Is
So now we're going to link everything together. Rabbi Kasim tells us something I never knew, and I've been on the path of tshuva for many years, and I've been teaching for many years, and I've been doing mitzvot for many years. Sure, you could. But this was a wow. Okay? Now, we know because we've heard the campaigns of the Chafetz Chaim Foundation and how they talk about Shmirat HaLashon and how many books were written. And they have all these things. There's the daily, there's for the family, there's for the young. Everyone has it. And they want people to learn the laws of how are we supposed to talk. But I want to tell you why talking is so important. But maybe one of you knows. Why, quiet you. Rabbi's not allowed to answer. Why is talk, speech, so important? Who could tell me?
Because it has the power to change things.
Yes. How do we know that? How do we know that speech has the power to change things? That was very good.
During Purim, I think.
Much before that.
Hashem created the world with speech.
There we go. Bereshit. She was kind enough. She had her hand up. It was your answer, right? Okay. So let me give it to you powerfully. God created the entire universe with 10 utterances. And right away, Rashi asks the question. The master of the universe, the Almighty, needed 10 utterances? He couldn't do it with what? He couldn't do it with snapping his finger? What kind of a creator is he? And he answers his question. Everything that the Torah tells us is a lesson for humanity, is a lesson for us. God told Moshe Rabbeinu to write down the creation, to tell mankind that words can create worlds, but they could also destroy worlds. And how do we know this? Because after God used those 10 utterances to create the entire universe, he created man on the sixth day. On the sixth day, so that man would know that the whole stage was put out for him. He didn't create anything. He came at the end. But he's also the crown of creation. No, actually, woman is the crown of creation because she was created last. But I don't want to offend the men in the room. So we'll talk about that another time. Okay? He created man with two major distinctions over all other creations. He gave man da'at and dibur. Because a parrot can talk, right? Copy. A monkey can talk, maybe, language. But they don't have what humankind has. They don't have da'at. That's chokhmah. That's understanding. That's intellect. And dibur. But what did God do? He blew into Adam HaRishon his neshama. How is it written? He breathed into him a living being. Breath, neshima, has the same word as source as neshama. What happens when someone blows into a balloon? What's in the balloon? What kind of air? What kind of air? Whose air is it? The glass blower's air. The balloon blower's air. We have a piece of God in us. God is creator of the entire universe. He made man co-creator. He gave you the chance to create worlds. See the power? It's huge. Now, we're going to go deep. Are you ready? Because you're very smart. I see it. You gave good answers, everybody. So what went wrong? God created man, then he fashioned woman, top of creation, on the side. And then there was a problem. It's okay, I'm just driving it in. Okay, and then there was a problem, right? There was a bit of a problem. Who could tell me what the problem was?
Apple.
No, that's goy. It wasn't an apple. But what was the problem? There was another character in the... Yes, a snake. Okay? So, to answer your point, look it up, because I know you're very smart, I can tell. We don't know exactly what fruit it was that God said you can eat from everything in the garden, just not from the fruit of that tree.
Some commentators say that it was
Exactly. So it could have been wheat, it could have been grapes, it could have been dates, it could have been figs, and it could have been an etrog. Okay? So we're not going to pause it right now because it doesn't pertain to our talk. But it definitely was not an apple. That's goy. Okay? We're not learning goy philosophy. We're going to stick to who we are. Okay? So now, we weren't supposed to eat from it. So you can ask yourself, so why did God put that in the garden? He could have made it simple for us. He could have not put it because guess what? All of our souls were in Adam. We were all there. And it could have been over. We could have gone straight to Olami. It could have been that beautiful. But it wasn't. And there was a whole story played out. What really was the snake? And I'm putting this in quotation, right? Because the snake represents much more than just a snake. And we're going to talk about that right now. What was he trying to do?
No, I see where you're going.
Okay? He was trying to fool woman and man, that's Chava and Adam, to not be connected to God, to doubt God, to bypass God, to live for pleasure, desire, whatever it is that people chase today that brings them to a bad end. And how does this look? What does this look like? Okay. If Chava, which is woman, would have stayed faithful to Adam, which is man, she represents Bina, and he represents Chochmah. Bina is building, creating, developing, and Chochmah is that spark of understanding, that idea that you want to make something. It starts with Chochmah. The snake wanted to sever this line. Build. You don't need wisdom. You don't need Chochmah. You don't need the truth. Just build. What am I building on? Build on whatever you feel. Build on your senses. Build on your emotions. Don't worry about the truths, the values, the intelligence. You see where I'm going? And what happened was, what was the evil, represented by the snake, that was outside of mankind, became internal. And we have this fight every day. That's humanity. We have this fight every day. Do I do the right thing or do I do my thing? Do I live by God's laws or do I make up my own laws? Am I a servant of God or do I think I'm God? How many people do you know think they're God? It's so pathetic. It is so pathetic. But it's out there. So now, why did I tell you all this? It seems like it's off topic, right? I'm going to show you where it's in topic. When I don't understand and believe that God runs the world and that He is so powerful that He can give me anything I need, all I need is a relationship, and this has nothing to do with what He gives him or her. Meaning, my feed doesn't change because he's wealthy. Or she's incredible and she has an unbelievable car and an unbelievable house and lots of jewelry. What do I care? I don't care. That doesn't change my life. Unless I'm not thinking straight. When I'm not thinking straight, then I'm jealous. And it's survival of the fittest. And it's either I get it or you get it. Guess what? I'm going to fight you because I'm going to get it. And that's how people live. People live cutthroat. Survival. It's like, because now we think we're a dying entity. And we do everything to stay alive. Because we think there's only this world. But in Hebrew, life is chayim. And chayim has 2 yuds in it. And also it's plural. We don't believe that life is only in this world. You live and you die and it's over. We believe there's another life. The other life is Olam Haba. That's why we value life. That's why it's important what you do here. If there wasn't an accountability, if there wasn't, like, why should I do the mitzvot? If there wasn't a schal for the mitzvot, then why would we do it? And where is the schal? Not just in this world. Yes, you get schal for being good in this world. Of course you do. But the greatest part of the schal is in the next world. And that's what we live for. So Rabbi Kassim taught me something that blew my mind away. Let's see if I can give it over and enlighten you a little bit. He explains that it's like this. God is constantly feeding the world. Shefa, light, abundance, strength, all of that, constantly. And we, the Jewish people, are supposed to be the recipients of all of that. The majority of that comes to us. But because of the situation that happened in the beginning of time in Gan Eden, and man and woman sinned, erred, made a mistake, they had a bad judgment, the equation changed. What happened to the equation? When the Jewish people sin, the power, the light, the energy, the shefa goes to the evil side. That's messed up. Did you understand what I said? I'll say it again, because I didn't understand it the first time I heard it. And I heard it a few times, and still was hard to understand. You ever ask yourself, how come there's so much evil in the world? You ever ask yourself that question? I do sometimes. Even though I have tremendous amount of emunah and bitachon that God is running the world as it should be, and I love the way Rabbi Riedi puts it, the history of humanity is His story. It's going according to His script. He's putting everything into play. But we're chosen to uphold Torah and Mitzvot, to be a light unto the nations. Why do we have to be a light unto the nations? Well, why do you think? Tell me, why do you think? You must know. It's not so difficult. Why do we have to be a light unto the nations?
We're superstars.
Okay, so we're like the stars that shine in the sky. Our last parsha, when Hashem told Abraham, your descendants are going to be like the stars in the sky. So it doesn't mean in numbers. It means we're so bright, we're so amazing. But that's more than that. Why do we have to be a light unto the nations? What is our job in this world? What is our function? What are Jewish people supposed to do? What are we supposed to do, guys? The rabbi knows, but I want to hear from everybody else. No, I know you know. But what are we supposed to do? Come on, tell me. Okay, beautiful. Now, what does that mean? He said, represent God. We do represent God. That means that everything you do could either be a Kiddush Hashem or a Chilul Hashem. It depends what you're doing. And don't think people don't know you're Jewish. You could hide, you could take off your Magen David, you could take off your kippah, but you can't take off the shining, bright neshama you've got in you. Everybody knows you're Jewish. You can't hide from that. So everything you do matters. And what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to be an example of justice, morality, ethics, kindness in the world. For the nations to understand. Okay, you're not Jewish? That's okay. But you have 7 laws of Noah that you must uphold. God created everybody. You have to uphold that. And guess what? If the nations, if the Gentiles keep 7 laws of Noah, they get Olam Haba also. It's not the same, but they get a reward for that. Because they have to be a player in the script of the history of humanity.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So why do they hate us?
Okay, I love that question. So I looked very hard for that answer. And I found one answer. Because you know, everything I'm telling you is one perspective. When you come to read the Torah, there's always 70 facets to the Torah. It doesn't mean they're opposites. It's like a diamond. But this diamond is spectacular. It has 70 cuts, 70 angles by which you could try to get understanding into this Torah. That's why it'll take a lifetime to learn it. You ever ask yourself, I used to ask myself this question when I started doing tshuva, how come people are so old? Like this rabbi, he's like 90 years old, he's still studying the Torah? Like he didn't get it? What is he like? He's not smart enough? When I started doing tshuva, I said to myself, isn't there another book we could read? Like, why do I have to read the same book all the time? I literally asked myself that question until I realized such depth, so many layers. You could read the pshat, you could read the drash, you could read the sod, and you cannot read the Torah without the written Torah, without the oral Torah. Because then you're blind. You're walking in the dark. You don't know what to do. Everything you're going to try to do is going to be wrong if you don't learn the Torah with the Gemara, with the oral tradition, with everything that all the rabbis have said. And now, before I finish with my punchline, I'm going to answer the question. What are you supposed to ask me?
How do we get things in our brain?
How do we get knowledge? How do we get things in our brains? You ever asked yourself that question? This is going to blow your mind away. Because it blew my mind away. And it's really, really incredible. You know, next time I'm going to come with a PowerPoint and I'm going to put the images on the screen for you to see. Yeah, but I don't have it right now with me because I didn't bring my computer. But next time, I'm going to put it on the screen for you.
Have surround sound also.
We don't need sound. It's okay. This is not Broadway. This is just Torah class.
You know what? I would imagine you talk on the stage in the middle of the Staples Center, in LA. And you talking like this with like the whole, you know what I mean?
I'll get the PowerPoint. You'll see.
I would love to have that.
Okay, we could try. Let's try. Okay. So now, I believe that most of you were here, correct me if I'm wrong, when I explained how do I picture me in this world and where is God in this world. So like if I needed to take a piece of paper, a blank piece of paper, and I would have to make 2 circles. One circle would be God and one circle would be me. How would I draw those 2 circles on a paper? Rabbi, you're not allowed to answer.
No, okay.
Next.
I would say like a Venn diagram.
Okay, how would that look exactly?
So there's one circle and another circle where they intersect.
Aha, that's not Jewish philosophy, but very interesting. Did everybody hear what he said? I'm going to tell you what that looks like.
What is it called?
A Venn diagram, where there's a part in the middle that they overlap. So it would look something like that. Yeah, 2 rings, but in the middle, they're together. But on the sides, they're apart. Okay? That's wrong. Next.
You have to draw one circle.
Okay, what?
You have to draw one circle.
One circle, but like how?
Like,
Or where would be the other one?
like the one on top of the other, representing the unity.
Okay, that's very nice. That's very nice. However, no, he didn't mean it as that. No, he meant them together. Okay, so that's very nice, but it doesn't leave room for me. Okay? And her, and him, and everybody else in the world. How do we do it? She knows.
One circle inside the other circle.
Yes. Okay, but now that first circle, how big would that be? The whole page. The whole page would be that circle. That's God. And that other circle that goes inside, that's me. But then in that circle, there's you, there's you, there's you, there's everybody else. That means that we live in the existence of God. You get it when they say En od milvado? There is nothing in this world outside of God. Okay, now, how do I really understand that? Who could tell me where on earth do we see an existence within another existence? Ladies, you can't answer. Let's see if the men can figure this out. Which one? No, come on. Yes! Bingo. You can make a good husband, man. Okay, because he understands the human condition. So a perfect example is a pregnant woman and she has a baby in her stomach. So she goes about her whole life and everything that she does, the baby experiences. Now the baby cannot do his own thing or her own thing because they're in mother, right? Perfect. What happens if there's 2 babies in mommy's stomach? Can they both exist? Sure. So how does it work? Everybody has an umbilical cord. Everybody gets to eat. Does the baby ever have to say, I'm hungry, could someone feed me, please? No, never. There's a continuous flow of food, nutrients, and the baby's always satisfied. Do they have to fight the twins in the stomach? Never. Because it's not my feed. He's going to get what he needs, and I'm going to get what I need. Because we each have our own feed. Okay. So now we're going to answer two things at the same time. Everything the baby gets comes from the mother. That's the mashal. The nimshal is everything we get comes from God. What does that include? That includes your good looks, your talents, your brain.
If you didn't have the man, you couldn't have the baby.
Exactly.
Where's the man?
Oh, no. We're not talking about that now.
She said,
No.
man.
No, but we're not talking about that now. We're moving on. Let's move on. Don't be offended, Rabbi, please. It's all good. We're going to get to it, okay? Ezel kenegdo. We're one. We're really one. Okay, so now I understand by this analogy, which I learned from my Mora Esther Wien, based on the Rambam's explanation of how can we wrap our minds around where's God. So for instance, his example of the Venn diagram means when I want to eat kosher, I can eat kosher at home because God is in my house. But when I go out, I don't have to eat kosher because I'm not taking God out. Wrong. You don't have two stomachs. There aren't two worlds here. Everything you do, everywhere you go, you're in God. Inescapable. Sorry, I know that's petrifying, but it's the truth. It's the truth. We have to believe it. We have to understand it. If we don't understand it, then we're ignoramuses. We don't want to be that. We want to be educated. So now, if I know that I have a direct feed with God, because God has unlimited power, and He gives me all my thoughts, and everybody else's as well, then I can't be jealous of anybody else. Because what you're going to get from God doesn't belong to me. It's not in my feed. Because if I needed it for my mission, God would give it to me. What I'm good at, maybe you're not good at. What you're good at, I'm not good at. But that's okay, because I don't have to do what you have to do, and you don't have to do what I have to do. It's fine. Could two people be good at the same thing? Absolutely. Is it a problem? It's not a problem. So now that I understand that nothing that you have do I need, and everything is run by God, then I can never complain, be jealous, blame, or talk badly about anybody. See this mindset? Then Lashon Hara doesn't speak to me. Right? Isn't that a beautiful campaign? Lashon Hara lo medaber elai. There's these beautiful bracelets that they made in Israel. They gave them out everywhere because they understood the power of speech. And now I'm going to put it all together, and you're going to walk away. You're going to understand what you need to do. You're going to figure it out. Because God is going to put it in your mind. And you're going to get it. You're going to put it all together. And you're going to be a soldier in this war. And you're going to make a difference. How does it work? It's like this. When a person speaks Lashon Hara, he evokes a prosecutor. Which prosecutor? The big prosecutor. Now I'm going to tell you. The snake, the Satan, the Melech HaMavet, the evil side, it's all one. It's just a different metamorphosis, if you will. It's all one. It's all one. Now, Rabbi Kassin says, how does the evil side get power? He asks that question. I wanted to know too. What gives them power? When we sin. Because what happens? God is always giving. He's always bringing light and energy and power into the world. But what did I do? I sinned. Chas v'shalom. And I closed my pipe. But it came down. And who's standing right near me when I'm sinning? The Yetzer Hara making me sin? He's waiting with open arms. Give me more power. I'll take her power. It's like a video game. Where do you think they get all these ideas? It's exactly like that. It's crazy. It shouldn't be that way, but it is. And now, I'm going to tell you something else. My God, I could speak for 2 hours, but I'm going to stop soon, I promise. We'll do questions. How do we stop giving more power to the other side? By doing more mitzvot? Yeah, that helps. Because then I'm not sinning, right? But guess what? You could be doing a lot of mitzvot. You're no saint. You're human in a human body. You're making mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. I make mistakes. Everybody mistakes every day. But if you do Lashon Hara, they open up the courtroom in Shamayim. And the prosecutor, the evil side, he's so happy to open up your books or my books. Let's take a look. What did Mrs. Sigalit Laredo do? Hey, I don't think she should have such a nice house. No way. Did you hear the way she spoke about that person? Yeah. It's bad. It's really bad. Now, we know, some of us have learned the laws of the Chefetz Chaim. Who gets to go to court when someone says Lashon Hara? Who's called to the courtroom? The one who said Lashon Hara? The one who listened to the Lashon Hara? And malheureusement, unfortunately, the one they're talking about. And you're going to say, that's not fair. That's not fair. I didn't do anything. Just because I have a few skills and they're not happy and they talked about me, what's my problem? So how do we protect ourselves from that? I wanted to know, so I kept listening to Rabbi Kassin's shiur. If I don't listen to Lashon Hara, someone comes to me and says, wow, did you hear what she's doing? And I say, excuse me? I don't want to hear anything. Leave me alone. But guess what? In Shamayim, they say, oh, who are we talking about? Oh, her? She doesn't listen to Lashon Hara. We're not bringing her to court. That's amazing. That's amazing. So now, this war is not about how religious you're going to be. No way. This war is about how you're going to use your power of speech. And so if your power of speech you put online, you defame people online, you say bad things about people online, that's your form of Lashon Hara. But it's enough for you to tell a friend or even your parent or your sister or your brother or your husband or your wife something bad about somebody else. That's Lashon Hara. Now, I want to tell you something. How do you strengthen yourself? Remember this. 2 things I'm going to tell you. 1, is it worth it? Is this piece of Lashon Hara worth it? Is it worth it for me to stand in judgment and something bad will happen to me? Chas v'shalom, someone says something bad about somebody else. They were listening to them. They let them say all of it. And the next thing, that person gets into a car accident, for example. Or worse. Is it worth it? Always ask yourself, is this talk worth it? And most often you're going to say no. So that's the first thing. Ask yourself, is it worth it? 4 little words. And the second thing is that the world I want to create? Because everything you say builds your world. When you say something about somebody else, wow, that's incredible. You're building an incredible world for you. You understand? It's so personal. It's so hashgacha pratit. It's so everybody's issue. You have to know that. What does Lashon Hara entail? It entails complaining. Because when you complain, you're complaining against God. When you say something is not fair, you're saying Lashon Hara about God. When you're talking about another Jew, you're talking about God's children. And who are you to say that they're wrong? You don't know where they're coming from. You don't know their situation. You don't know their life experiences, their hardships. You don't even know their past life. We're not new neshamas here, folks. We've been around. We came back. We're here to mitaken something. We're here to correct something. What is it? I don't know. But whatever is very hard for you to take on is probably what you have to correct. That's why my teacher says, you don't have to keep all of the Torah. No one's asking you to be super religious. Just take something on. Take something on. Take anything on and say, I'm taking it on because I want it to be a protection for the soldiers. I want this war over. I want the Jewish people to be safe in their land. I want the final redemption to come. I want to see the Mashiach. I want to see the Beit HaMikdash. Wow, don't you want to see it? I want to see it. It's going to be magnificent, better than the first two for sure. It's going to be outstanding. I want to be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. I don't want to be responsible for anyone's, I don't even want to say the word. I don't want anyone to be hurt because of my words. So yeah, Shmirat HaLashon includes Ahavat Yisrael, includes giving the other person the benefit of the doubt, includes behaving properly, includes being just, includes your very personal relationships, the ones at home, your first relationships. Don't look too far. I'm going to be nice to that friend, I only see him once a week. That's easy. Start with very close. What's hard to do? That's what we have to do. And you should know that when we do Shmirat HaLashon, look at the word Shmirat. Hashem shomer al Am Yisrael. He takes care of us. He protects us. And we have this obligation, and we cannot run away from it. Now, I'm going to answer the rabbi's question, because it was an excellent question. Why do they all hate us so much? But maybe you could answer it. Maybe you have an idea. Why do they hate us so much? Why do you think they hate us so much? Girls, you're smart. Yes?
Well, I mean, I know that if there was a nation I was saying like they're the chosen ones or anything,
Yes.
I would probably be jealous.
That's interesting. So that's an element. They're jealous. Okay. But could it also be that they're angry at us? You ever thought of that? Think about it.
They look angry to us.
I'll tell you why they're angry. Who said it? Let's see if I wrote it down. I thought that was so brilliant. You know, the world is quite messed up right now. I don't know if you've noticed, okay? This whole woke mentality. Everything that's going on out there is just nihilism. Everyone's against God. Nobody wanting rules. You know, it's laughable. The people that are protesting, the LBT, whatever they're called, all those letters, let them go. This is, they're pro-Hamas, right? Let them go to Gaza. They wouldn't survive 10 minutes. Okay? That means they don't understand anything. They're so lost. Ignorant. And guess what? We failed the world. We failed the world. We didn't do our job. We were not a light unto the nations. We never taught them morality. Not enough. We live in the land of Israel and we do all sorts of abominable actions against the Torah. They're angry. They're angry at us. They're angry that we're not upholding the morality. Somebody has to uphold morality. Where is the light? Where is the justice? Where is the people of the book? They're so minute. They're so limited in number. What they see is Jewish people that are not behaving. I don't want to go there. I want to tell you what Jewish people all over the world are doing. The crimes, the sins, the transgression. And that's why they persecute us. It's harsh, but it's a reality. And we have a choice. We have a choice. We don't need heroics from anybody. We need small mitzvot. We need factual actions. We need to tip the scale. We need to do something small. We need to keep Shabbat this Shabbat, please, okay? It's a Shabbat project, okay? So, okay, if you can't do it all the time, I understand it's not easy. But primarily, uphold Shmirat HaLashon. Speak good words to each other, even to yourself. No bad self-talk, only good talk, only good things. You know, small people talk about other people. Big people talk about ideas. Talk about ideas. Talk about building a world. Don't destroy anybody. You look bad. It's like childish. Let's grow up as a nation. Let's just grow up. Let's merit to live in the land of Israel. The last thing is that we're very close. And you know what's happening? Secular Jews are taking flights out of Israel. They're running away. And Israelis and people that love the land are taking flights to go to Israel and serve in the army. And this is a sign that the prophecies are going to come true. So we all have to have positive thoughts. It might get rough. There's a price to pay. We know when you want to make diamonds, you got to cut at them. When you want to make pure gold, you got to burn it. When you want to make wine, you got to press those olives. When you want to make olive oil, you got to press those olives. There's going to be a little bit of hard times still. We can minimize that with minimizing Lashon Hara and maximizing Shmirat HaLashon and good talk and Ahavat Israel and unity. We're stronger when we're united. We've seen that in our history. The kings, the people were united. The prosecutor could not say anything about them because there was no Lashon Hara. Couldn't take them to court. Couldn't punish them for their sins. But the kings, where the people were supposedly no idol worship, no idolatry, no theft, but they talked badly about each other, those kings lost wars and people died. Ladies and gentlemen, we know what we have to do. Can we be strong enough and do it? I invite you to make a difference and be there for the final redemption. May we dance together in the third Beit HaMikdash. Amen. Thank you. Thank you.